So, dividing. Division is the opposite of multiplication. We say it's the inverse of multiplication, and so multiplication is also the inverse of division. If you know your times tables, then division is not going to be that difficult. There are two main paper-based methods of division. One is chunking and the other one is long division. You should by now have come across both these, so we're just going to refresh your minds about how to do both. First of all, chunking. Chunking relies upon you knowing your times table facts. It's also a little bit of trialling and improvement, so we can make a few educated guesses as to what the answers are going to be along the way. So here's an example. What is 338 divided by 26? Before we start, let's think about approximately what the answer is going to be. If we think about this, 26 times 10 is 260. So 260 is in the same magnitude of numbers as 338. So our answer is going to be a little bit bigger than 10. So that gives us some idea of what we're looking for in our answer. So we can have a rough check when we find our answer as to whether or not we think it might be right. Let's start now with our chunking method. Let's write down this little device here, and we're going to put the number that we're going to be dividing into in the centre there, and on the outside we're going to put the number we're going to be doing the dividing by. Clearly 338 is at least 10 times 26, so let's start with that. That's our first chunk. 10 times 26 is 260, and we're going to subtract that from the total we started with of 338. You can do that sum now because you've done some subtraction work. That will give us an answer of 78. So our next question is, how many times does 26 go into 78? Well, we're going to play on the safe side and say, well, there's at least 2 lots. It doesn't matter if it's more than that or less than that. Let's do 2 lots. So we write down our 2 in the outside column, and 2 lots of 26 is equal to 52. So we're going to subtract 52 from the 78. That gives us 26. Exactly, and we know there's only one lot of 26 in 26. So we're going to put our 1 there, subtract the 26, which brings us down to a 0, and then we're going to add up those numbers we have in that outside column. 10 plus 2 plus 1, well, that's equal to 13. And we have no remainder. So our answer is 338 divided by 26 is equal to 13. Now you remember back at the beginning we said, let's get an approximate answer. Well, our approximate answer was 10. 13 is the same magnitude as 10, so we can be fairly sure we've not made a very, very silly mistake and got a really stupid answer. If you want to be completely certain you've got the right answer here, then because you've done a division, the opposite of division is multiplication, so you could do a 26 times 13 and you should get back to the original question of 338. That way you'd be clear that you'd not made any silly mistakes along the way. So here's our second example. What is 233 divided by 12? Start with, we're going to draw our same grid as we had before, like the little game of hangman, I suppose you could call it. We're going to put the dividend, 233, in there, and we're going to put the divisor outside. And we can look at that and we say, well, at least 10 lots of 12 in 233. 10 lots of 12 is 120. We're going to subtract that, so we get 113. There are at least 5 lots of 12 in 113. We know from our times tables that 5 times 12 is 60. So we can subtract 60 from the 113, which gives us 53. Again, a times table fact, you should be able to recall that 4 lots of 12 is equal to 48. So we can write down our 4 in the outside column and 48 under the 53 and do a subtraction. We find that what we've got there, after we do that subtraction, is 5. We can't divide 5 by our 12 because 12 is more than 5. So we've got a remainder of 5. So we've got 19 lots of 12, remainder 5. Or if we like to write that as a fraction, we could write it as 19 and 5/12. I think you'll agree that's fairly straightforward as long as we make sure we write everything down clearly and follow those simple steps. Let's have a look at the first example, but using long division this time. So our original example was 338 divided by 26. To use the long division method, we write a simpler grid. We put the dividend in the middle and the divisor outside as we did before. But now we look at what is 3 divided by 26. Well, we can't do that, so it's 0, remainder 3. Put 0 at the top. We do 0 times 26, that's 0. We subtract it from the 3, which gives us a 3. We then bring down the 3 from the next column. We now do 33 divided by 26. Well, the answer to that is 1. So the 1 goes up above in the space next to the 0. We've got a remainder 7. We're going to do the subtraction now because 1 times 26 is 26, and we're going to write that down. We're going to subtract the 26 from 33 and get our remainder of 7. We now bring down the 8 from that final column above so that we have 78. And now we're going to do 78 divided by 26. Well, 78 divided by 26 is 3. And there's no remainder because if we do 3 times 26, we get 78. Let's put the 3 up the top, and that gives us our answer of 13. Just make sure that we've not made any silly mistakes by subtracting the 78 off the 78 to give us our 0. And there we get our answer. 338 divided by 26 is 13. Now I think you'll agree that that takes a little bit more work than the method of chunking. You've got to do the divisions and the multiplications and the bringing downs. It is a little bit more complicated and perhaps more difficult to remember exactly what you've got to do at any one stage. The chunking method is a little bit more obvious. It's a simpler method of long division. As with any type of mathematics, where there's more than one method of working out a solution, you should choose the method that you find simplest and most straightforward. Alternatively, you may be required to use a certain method by an exam question. If that's the case, then you have to do it that way. If you have time and that happens, I suggest you check your answer using your preferred method as well.